best area to invest for turnkey properties, if you guys are not doing that, I would say is B plus to C minus neighborhood. I would say is the best neighbor. Those are like neighborhoods where it would make the most sense to do a turnkey property. We don't do anything in D neighborhood for my property management company. All 4 employees that we have in our company, they're all female. So we want to make sure that they feel comfortable managing a property. They feel safe, going to a neighborhood, checking out, showing properties. That's where we've completely stayed away from D neighborhood. But I know some other investors that do really well investing in the D neighborhood market, but we don't do any of that. We stay in your B plus, B minus, and C plus neighborhood. That's where there's a lot of demand for rental properties, but you don't have as many homeowners looking to buy. And it's a really great cash flowing properties. The property that I signed closing docs for today, we're selling it for about $250,000 and it's rented for about $2,500. So it's a pretty easy sale for us. We're selling our properties in our area for whatever the rent is times 100. So, that's pretty much how we come up with our price point on these properties. We would have actually made $85,000 on it. We had the buyer ready to buy it for $270, I believe, but the property didn't appraise for $270, it appraised for $250. So instead of $85, we're making $65. It's a little bit of a bummer, but still $65,000 is still pretty good net profit on this deal. So yeah, I would look at your B plus, B minus neighborhoods would be ideal neighborhoods where there is demand from homeowners also, but then you also have these very strong tenant demand to buy in these neighborhoods. The property that we sold today, or the one that we're selling tomorrow, is in a C neighborhood. I own a bunch of properties in that neighborhood. There wouldn't be many homeowners who would want to live in the neighborhood. I would say it's a 2-unit property that we sold, but there's some single family houses also. It's primarily tenant rental properties in that neighborhood. So that's where you have very strong cash flow in that market. And once we have the property ready, once we figure out what neighborhoods we want to sell in, we don't even have to run our comps or do any of that. It's a very simple thing for us. We know exactly what rehab it's going to go into the property, and then the price point is very simple. Whatever we know how much we're going to rent the property for times 100, that's our sell price. If it's going to rent for about $1,500, at resale prices, $150,000 on the property, and then we back out how much work it needs and then how much we want to pay for the property. Another benefit that I like with turnkey properties is in most cases we're selling directly to an investor that we have a network of investors, and we're not paying any closing costs. We're not paying any commission or any of that. So the same $250,000 property, if we had sold to a homeowner, let's say, we would pay about, between agent fees, commissions, and other, closing cost credit, I would say we would make about 8 to 10% less on that deal. So you could take another 20 to 25%, or 20 to 25,000 off the top. So instead of $65,000, we would have made, $45,000 to $50,000 on the property. So that's another reason why I like turnkey properties. You don't have any commission, you don't have any agent fee. It's a straight transaction that you do with a homeowner. And also these are high net worth individual. So you're not going through FHA loan. So you don't have the FHA loan, like the 90-day seasoning period. So if we buy a property today, we're able to rehab it, rent it in 30 days, 45 days, and then we could just sign a contract for it right away because it's going through a conventional loan. And in some cases, it's actually going through, cash transaction. And if you do not have a network of buyers, I really recommend looking at this website. I shared it in some of my previous calls also, roofstock.com. Really great website for selling turnkey properties. They charge about 2.5%, I believe, for each property that they sell. It's basically a marketplace for turnkey providers like ourselves and then other high net worth individual investors that are looking to buy turnkey properties. And you can, list your property right here, go through the process of listing your property. If you want to see kind of what properties they have on the market, this is a great tool to just get a sense of what other investors in your market are selling their turnkey properties for. So I can go based on the location. We invest in Indiana. So I can do Indiana, and we can go ahead and do that. I can do map search also. So we invest in a very small area right here. I don't see anything in our market right now, but let's say if you were in the Indianapolis market, you could go right here and just click on any one of them, and then just get a sense of what other investors are selling their property for. So you can see like this one is selling for $430,000. I'm not familiar with that market, but seems like a really great price. And then you can kind of like this property, even though this is in Indianapolis, I would say it's very, very similar to the properties that we sell in our area in Northwest Indiana. Like this, we would sell for about $110,000 to $125,000, depending on how much it's rented for. And that's how we're coming up with our price point. But this gives you a good idea of what other investors are selling their properties for. Like, let's say if you had a deal where you could not, it would not make sense to sell this to a homeowner at $110,000 because you're paying agent fees, commissions, and then also in a lot of these cases at a price point like this, you're paying closing cost credits. After paying that, you may only net, let's say, $95,000, versus the same deal you could rent out, sell it to an investor, and instead of netting 95 on $110,000 sale price, you could net 107 to 108,000, depending on how much closing costs you're paying. So it adds that extra 10 to 12% to your net profit. That's where it's been super profitable for us. So at this point, we have a network of investors that we're able to sell properties to. But if not, Roofstock is a great place to list your properties and just get a sense of what other investors are selling their properties. But they don't. I believe they have. If you list with them, they have like a 15 to 30 day exclusivity period that you have to keep your property with them. You cannot sell through another, you cannot sell directly, or you cannot sell on MLS. But even if you did, you just have to pay them 2 to 2.5% commission, I believe. So, and it's free to list your property. I don't think they charge you anything to list your property through them. So it's a good idea to go through and do that. Another great thing about selling with the Roofstock is, so different between selling with Roofstock versus us selling directly to our investors. When we sell directly to our investors, these are investors that we have relationship with. So they expect us to, have the property rented out. They expect us to have a property management company in place because they just want to buy the property and then just have, positive cash flow. So you need to have some relationship. In our case, we have our own property management company, but if we did not, then we would need to have a relationship with a property management company that can rent out the property and manage the process after we sell the property. But with Roofstock, the great thing is they have preferred vendors in each of the markets. So when you sell through them, you don't have to worry about the property manager. You sell the transaction, then you're done. You don't have to worry about anything. In the cases where we're selling directly to an investor, sometimes the investor would come back to us if there's an issue with the property. Then we're still, just out of good faith, we'll take care of some of the things. If it should have been taken care of before, we sold the property. Let's say there was a plumbing leak, or some, furnace needs to be updated or upgraded, stuff like that. We'll go ahead and take care of that. But with Roofstock, you don't have to do any of that. Once you sell the property, it's done. It's not your headache. But again, if you have enough properties that, have issues after the sale, then they may not let you list the property. And another thing with Roofstock, I don't manage the process. Somebody on my team manages the process. But another thing with Roofstock is when you sell through them, they ask you to have a property inspection done before you sell the property. So once you've done the property inspection, this is just, when the buyer is buying the property, they have visibility on kind of, all the repairs or all the work that's been done and the condition of the property. So that's one thing. I think it's a good idea anyway. Like even with our properties, when we're selling directly to an investor, we still get a property inspection done after the work has been done, just to kind of keep an eye on, how our investors or how, our contractors are working the property, if they missed out on any major, rehab item or something that they should have done, but it got missed through our scope of work or something like that.